The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered comes to PS5 on the 19th of January, and like a metal pipe reinforced with sellotape and scissors, it has grown even more powerful, packing technological improvements and new behind-the-scenes secrets. But it's the new mode, No Return, that has us most intrigued. In this roguelike survival gauntlet, which you're watching throughout this video, your mastery of Naughty Dog's stealth and combat is pushed like never before. We got to quiz Matthew Gallant, game director on The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, about what makes No Return so special, how they developed new playable characters, and some of the nastier challenges that lie in wait. To kick off, we asked Matthew to talk us through the basics.
Players will fight through a series of encounters that are randomly generated from maps and enemies and rule modifiers. So you'll fight through a series of encounters that end in a boss fight. And as you're fighting those encounters, if you die, your progression is reset and you will start a new run that has been randomly regenerated. Random combinations of maps and rules and enemies and stuff like that. And there are a cast of characters you can play as. So you can play as not only as Ellie and Abby, but you get to play as Dina, as Lev, as Joel, as Tommy. Those are all characters that can be unlocked in the mode. And they all have different traits that kind of lead them towards different play styles and have different unique abilities that are worth mastering. And overall, there's kind of a metagame layer, these challenges, where as you're completing these challenges, you're unlocking new content in the mode, you're unlocking boss fights, you're unlocking new mechanics, you're unlocking new mods and new characters, new skins. And I think this is going to be a mode that players who love The Last of Us combat, they're going to find that there's stuff in here that surprises them, stuff that challenges them in new ways, that's going to push them to adopt new strategies and maybe play styles that weren't ones that they tried in their main game playthrough.
So where does a mode like No Return come from? Matthew worked on the combat encounters in the original The Last of Us Part 2. Was there a sense back then that the combat system could be pushed in a new direction?
I would say in general, we make our systems, our AI, our combat mechanics to be just incredibly robust so that we can do all sorts of different setups in the main story. But I think what the funny result of that is it's a system that's so robust that you can throw even more at it. We really do have these enemies that can react very dynamically. We have all these different gun upgrades and skill upgrades and all this, and maybe there's more of them in the main story than the average player is going to get in one playthrough. So there was so much to draw from, and thinking about how can we take these incredibly rich systems that we already have, remix them, recontextualize them in a different way in this mode. And then on top of that, because this is an arcade mode, it's not canon, there's no narrative connection, we gave ourselves some permission to do things that were not grounded in the strictest sense. That's usually something that's a real design pillar for The Last of Us, is everything has to be grounded, the items have to be very realistic. Because we took that constraint off on this project, we got to do things like invisible enemies, or pustules raining from the sky, or having enemies in contexts and locations that don't make narrative sense for why those characters would be there. There are a couple of characters that have abilities that are not grounded. To give an example is Abby. Her default ability is she gets health back on melee kills. So that's just an ability that didn't exist in the original game because that's not grounded at all. There's no real world justification for why she would do that. So in that sense, those are new mechanics, but really, built on top of the core Last of Us Part 2 foundation.
Of course, even with that arcade outlandishness, there are some fundamental narrative rules No Return won't break. Some encounters pair you up with AI allies, and you won't ever see heroes from Team Ellie working alongside those in Team Abby, say. One of the cool things about No Return is just how many playable heroes are included. We asked Matthew not just how they chose the lineup, but how they gave each character a playstyle that honours their role in the main campaign.
Yeah, so we chose characters, we wanted to have a split between Ellie and Abby in terms of their faction, for better part of Team Ellie, Team Abby. But we also looked really carefully at characters that we knew were fan favorites, characters like Tommy, characters like Lev and Yara. We really wanted those to be playable. But as you say, we didn't want them to just be, we wanted to really connect them to a type of playstyle that not only is going to be fun for the player, it's going to be something really unique and different when they choose that character, but it also resonates with their identity in the narrative. Some of those were easy. Lev uses a bow through the main story, very easy to make him the stealth character. But others, we had to try different designs, try different ideas. I really like where we landed with Yara, which is, Yara in the main story, has this deep attachment to her brother Lev. So what we do in No Return is that when you play as Yara, it's like picking a duo. You always have Lev as an AI companion through the entire run. Every single fight you're going to have Lev by your side, and Yara has skill upgrades that upgrade Lev's lethality. So that's really fun. The trade-off with her is that she only starts with a pistol, so you're more dependent on getting good guns and equipment from your runs. But I really like that dynamic for her, and that's a really fun place. I really love playing as Yara, and just kind of across the board.
It's definitely cool seeing how, say, Jesse's cautious scavenging stacks up against Lev's bow antics. Things are also drastically altered by random encounter mods. Is there a mod that Matthew dreads seeing on the encounter map?
Two that I really love. I don't know if you've encountered this one yet, but we have a modifier, a mod that does invisible enemies. And those enemies, they will become briefly visible when they attack you, and you can see them in listen mode, and they actually still cast shadows in the flashlight. So there are a bunch of ways to play around it. You play those with Infected on a dark, spooky level, and that'll really jump scare you in a fun way. Another one that I really like is there's a modifier that makes enemies drop a bomb on death. So that's one that just always keeps you on your toes, and you have to think about not only getting the kill, but how to get out, how to dodge out, and you can strategize around it and try to make one enemy die and drop a bomb that'll set off a chain reaction and kill the rest of the wave, and that's just really fun to play around.
On the flip side, is there a mod that always fills in with confidence?
I really like the mod it's a really interesting one. It says, during this run, when you craft, you get weapon parts. So when I see that one, I'm just grabbing everything I can, scavenging as many items as I can, so that I can just craft a whole bunch in that run. And now I've loaded up on weapon parts, so when I get back to the hideout, I'm just kitting out all my guns. So I find that one, when that happens, if you can play strategically around it, you can really, really optimize it and really set yourself up really well with fully upgraded guns.
And once you've got a feel for characters and mods, you can see how you stack up against fellow survivors in the daily run, which Matthew describes as the ultimate test of your no-return prowess.
So Daily Run is a feature that's very close to my heart. Basically, it came about because when we're making a roguelike run, when we're generating a run in no return, we're doing it based on a random seed. So because the game is built that way, that means that if you have two players playing the same random seed, they're going to get the same challenges. They're going to be offered the same opportunities. So that flowed very naturally to, well, why not have people compete? Why not have people trying to get the highest score given the same opportunity? This is also something that we saw, in the roguelike space that we find very exciting. Other games have done daily runs, and it's always been very popular. There's something really fun about seeing how you compare on the leaderboard and seeing how you do compare to your friends. Also just knowing, it's like permadeath plus. It's just like, if I mess up this run, if I stop paying attention and I get eaten by a clicker, that's me done for the whole day. I have to try again tomorrow. So that's like extra stakes onto the experience. And I think I'm really excited to see what players do in terms of the metagame of this. What strategies will they be using to maximize their score on the score table? I want players to really think about risk and reward, especially in this mode where they're thinking, do I go for the slightly harder encounter that has a higher score multiplier, or do I play it safe? I play the easier fight, but the score multiplier isn't as high, so I probably won't score as high. I love moments, and I find this in my own playthrough, where my own greed sinks me, where I go for one of the gambits comes on, or I try to do some really tricky maneuver, and that's what ends up killing me, and I'm just I'm hoisted by my own petard kind of thing. Having to manage that risk and reward, I think, is a really exciting element.
Do you think you've got what it takes to conquer the daily run? Based on our performance with this bloater here, we think we're in trouble. Thanks to Matthew for talking us through No Return, and you can try it for yourself when The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered comes to PS5 on the 19th of January. And remember that if you own the original game, you can upgrade to the remaster for £10. Worth it just for No Return. If you've got any questions about the mode, then pop them in the comments below, and give this video a like if you're looking forward to smashing in mushroom boys with a hammer. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.